Hey y'all, I'm James Wright, and welcome to my living room slash office. So we've got a live stream here. I'm still setting a few things up. And let me know if you have any questions or comments down below. I'd love to hear those and see what you have. I'm kind of playing this by ear right now because my list doesn't come up. But having fun. Whew, there's my own voice. So let's go back to the setting page so I can actually see what is going on now. And I can see your comments, which would be nice to see. Hey Arthur, come here, bud.
I'm not looking for the bear blanket.
Oh, you're looking for the bear blankie?
Yeah.
Yeah? Why don't you go look in your bedroom? This is Arthur. Say hi, Arthur.
Hi, Arthur.
No, what's your name?
Arthur.
And what are you looking for?
Something green.
Okay, go find something green. Yeah, that's what I get to have in my shop all day.
Green?
And it's kind of fun.
The Legos are green.
The Legos are green? Yeah. Go find your blanket, bud. Okay, on to questions. Let's see while I'm thinking about this. Where is that one? So one question I had asked is, where do you go? How do you decide which plane number to use? And what does it say? I know you have a complete collection. Well, I don't have a complete collection. I'm missing a couple. But I never use the number 7 or something. Always just the number 4. Really, the plane size doesn't matter that much. The numbers are just the order in which Stanley started implementing them and showing them. So the number really doesn't have any particular meaning. And yeah, that's kind of a pointless thing. Basically, the longer the plane is, the flatter the board will get, and it just becomes easier to use that way. Let me rephrase that. The longer the plane is, the easier it is to flatten an area. In other words, because the sole is longer, it's going to ride over the valleys and hit the high points and bring the whole thing down to flat. So basically, the rule of thumb is you want to choose a plane that is at least half the length of your board to flatten it. But then after flattening it, I often go back to a number 4 or a number 3 to smooth it. At that point, I'm not worrying about flattening. I'm worrying about taking out any of the imperfections in the grain, any of the tear out that might have happened, and smoothing the board out and giving it that nice finished feeling to it. So it's kind of going back and forth between that and choosing one. I really need to do a video on that here soon, but I haven't yet. Hey, bud. Here, why don't you go watch your phone? No, away from the saw. Good job. Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Hey, Ryan, Scott, another Scott, Janet, Willem, good to see you, Willem. JP's in the house, good to have you here. How is your bench top attached to your legs? I have dovetails, a dovetailed mortise that slides up into the bench top. And so it's just there. There is no hardware holding my bench together. It's all through tenons and glued in place. So much like a traditional roubeau with the dovetail mortise and tenon to slide up into it. Yes, King Arthur. It's actually, we named him Arthur Tiberius after King Arthur and James Tiberius Kirk. I figured it was a good name for him. What's Arthur making from Legos? I think he was working on an airplane. He's always making something. We have a large, let me see if I can show you. I made a Lego table last year for Christmas for them. And it's always a mess. But yeah, they're always making something there. What podcasts do you listen to? Let me pull up my list. I have a pile of podcasts that I listen to. And I usually listen to audiobooks. And I'll finish a book and then I'll catch up on all my podcasts. And so I kind of go back and forth on that. But let's see. Smart Passive Income by Pat Flem. Still Untitled by Adam Savage. Crafted Podcast, of course, you've got to listen to that one. Wood Talk, Reclaimed Audio, Maker's Hustle, Modern Woodworker, Science Friday, Star Talk, Radio Lab, TED Radio Hour, Making It, the Woodworking Podcast, The Dusty Life, Makers International, and Fine Woodworking. Those are the ones that I regularly follow. There's a few others that I listen to, but that's the main majority of them. Have you ever used any of the old Norris planes? This is from Scott Wallemsley. Sorry, Scott. I have used an old Norris, and they are a pleasure to use. They have a lot of weight and mass. They have the ability to be slightly more. They're a little easier to adjust, and they're simpler. A Norris adjuster gives you a very, very fine movement because you have to move the screw quite a bit in order to adjust it in and out. Whereas on a Bailey plane, a little bit of movement makes a big difference. So it's very, very easy to get a nice fine shaving with a Norris plane. They are a lot of fun. No, I don't have one. I don't have enough money for one of those. They're far more common in Europe than they are in America, but that's not that they're not that common over there. So I'm getting close to the end here. If you guys have any comments, throw them in any questions, throw them in the comments, and I can wrap them up. Hey TJ, how's it going? Just listened to the Crafted podcast on my way home. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, we just had another one come out today, and that was with William Walker and Company. Love his channel. He does some really cool things over there, and a lot of fun. Yeah, some of the other people in here that have channels. Rob's Woodshop, he has a channel I'm always watching. Pascal. Let's see. TJ, he has a sweet channel in here. Willem Kosen, he has a channel. I'm sure I'm missing a few that I've skimmed over. But there's a lot of great there's a guy out there who made a compilation. I got to put that in one of the comments here soon. But he made a compilation of every woodworking channel he could find. It was like 1,600 channels, I think it was. And I'm only subscribed to about 400 of them. So there's a lot out there. What is your largest project? That is kind of confusing. The largest thing I've ever built is a 4,000 square foot house. Largest as in most detailed, has required the most work, is probably the dresser I'm currently working on. I've made a couple kitchen tables, a bunch of chairs, dressers, beds. This is like the 4th or 5th dresser I've made, but is the most detailed and largest of them. This question is from Benjamin. I don't know if there's anything I would say is the largest project. I'm hoping to be building a timber-framed shop when we get our new place, and that will probably end up being my biggest hand-built project. But yeah, I think the dresser is the most detailed, the most involved, will require the most time, at least on my part. Even the 4,000 square foot house, I did very little of the actual work. I was more the supervisor. Ever try your hand at luthier work? I made a base a while ago. It wasn't a traditional curved base. It was a square box base, more of like a country sound. And it was kind of fun. I've been wanting to do either a guitar or a mandolin and get into that. But no, I haven't done a whole lot of luthier work. One of these days I will do a violin. I don't know if it'll be any good, but I'll try it. That was from Ryan. Are you a perfectionist? From Tino Van Rajowski? I'm sorry, I'm not even going to try that last name. No, I am not a perfectionist. I am a perfectionist in the way I look at things. In other words, I want to, with everything I touch, put my best effort into. But my best effort is not measured by the outcome of the project. My best effort is measured by my heart and the passion that I put into it, the enjoyment that I put into it. Are my pieces perfect? Absolutely not. There are dings and imperfections through every single piece I make. And I think that gives it a lot of character and feeling, and I don't try to make things perfect. That is something I think that the modern woodworker has fallen into, that is limiting and causing a lot of problems. Jump in and do the best you can, and that's all you need to do. Don't worry about perfection. Perfection never exists. It's something that you can chase all your life and never reach, and so do not let being perfect limit you. Hi, James from the southern tip of Africa. Thanks for a great show. Barry Irwin. Yeah, I'm guessing that's down by the Cape. My wife actually spent a year in Johannesburg, South Africa. And one of these days we want to go back there as a family, but every time we do, either another kid pops out or we run out of money. So one of these days I'll be back in South Africa. Will you be making a custom wooden molding plane one day? Yes. Well, I have made several, like grooving planes, tonguing planes. They're basically the exact same thing as a molding plane, except for they're not, curved. Someday I might. Most of the time, if I'm making something for particular use, I'll actually make a scratch stock as opposed to making a molding plane. It takes less time, and you can make a fairly simple scratch stock fairly quickly. If it needs a lot of material moved, then it might be worth making a molding plane for it. But yeah, otherwise, if I have a specific molding I want to make, I'm probably going to use my set of hollows and rounds to make it, as opposed to making a particular molding plane. But I don't know, it might make a good video. We'll see. Thanks for the idea, Willem. I have a new tap and die set for 1.5 inch dowels. What is the best wood to use for dowels? I practiced on some poplar, but it messed up pretty good. Thoughts? This is from Handy Homebrew Network. Yes, beech or maple are fantastic for wooden screws. Softwoods are not. So any pines, no, but poplars and like box elder are not very good for those. They're not going to hold the shape. Oak can work, but you're going to be kind of messing up some of the threads occasionally. All of my wooden screws are made out of oak. It works. It's not the best though. It's just because I haven't found a good source of maple dowels, and I'm not a huge fan of making 1-inch maple dowels. But you could. But maple is my go-to choice if I have to make a screw. Thanks, Thanks, DJ. Love watching your work. Very nice to see handy tool use. Thanks, John. I'm interested to hear more on your thoughts about getting kids into the shop and choosing hand tools for them. This is something that I am actually wanting to do a lot more of. My kids are starting to get to the age where they can figure things out. I made a bench for them a while ago, and my daughter is... she's kind of getting into messing around with the saw and chisel and making lines on things and gluing boards together and just kind of messing around with it. And I love that. She's experimenting with things. She actually has her own YouTube channel where she makes completely her own YouTube videos and puts them up. And it's usually like a 6-minute long video of her trying to figure out how to use a saw. It's great to watch. I love them. But they're not quite to the age where they can do a project by themselves, but like last year for Mother's Day, we did a bird feeder, and I made all the pieces and made dowels, and they pounded it together, and that was a lot of fun. But I did like 99% of the work. It's kind of figuring out those projects and what their age is, because my middle son will probably be getting to about the same point that his older sister will, about the same time, even though there's a year and a half between them. And so it's a lot of those simple tasks. Don't worry about fine furniture. Don't worry about joinery. Nails and screws are great. Using a chisel, using a handsaw, figuring out how to use a handsaw. It's something you can kind of teach, but it's something they've just got to mess with and figure out on their own. And so putting a board in a vise and saying, "Here, cut this," is a great way to just have fun. And they'll take pride in just merely cutting a board. That is something that is new and novel and fun for them. And it's kind of fun to watch that. I gave them a dull chisel that they write out letters on a board, and so they use it to just make marks on the board and basically indent letters into it, and that's fun for them. But I'm hoping to do a few more videos with that this summer, making a few things with the kids. Did you figure out the flex ply problem? Yes, basically I have a material that's used for wrapping columns, and it's all these slats of plywood, and I'm using that instead. I used to use stuff called flex ply, but none of the places around here have it. And if I steam Luan or other thin plywoods, they just don't quite bend enough without snapping. So this will work, but I'm still trying to find a good source for flex ply. That's just what I prefer to use. I've been itching to build a mandolin, from Ryan. Yes, me too. One of these days. Add it to the pile of projects I want to do. When you started working with hand tools, my friend, TJ, strictly hand tools was about 2 years ago. About 2 years ago. And I've been working with woodworking since I was 5. So it's the last 2 years have been kind of relearning the art, and a lot of fun. Basically, my YouTube channel is following from the first hand plane I ever purchased all the way through today. So if you want to see how I've progressed, grown, and learned about hand tools, my entire channel is covering that history. I second the question about how to get my kids into the shop. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about hand tools, though, is because, number one, there's no noise, so I don't have to worry about ear protection. They think that a hand plane is loud. Number two, I don't have to worry about them being around power tools. If they cut themselves, they're probably just going to nick their skin, and it's just one more thing to teach them. And I do protect things. All my chisels are in a covered spot so they don't sit out, and I supervise what they're doing. But I have no problem with them being in the shop and messing around with something on their own bench while I'm over working on mine. I don't have to be constantly watching them. So hand tools are fantastic for that. Not to mention less dust, so it's not of a health issue for them. But I love having the kids in the shop. And the more they're just in there, they're constantly begging me, "Hey, Daddy, can I go down to the shop?" And I love that. So just having them in there they'll ask you to do things, and you can set things up for them. Your face is perfection. Why, thank you, Brian. Do you have any suggestions for a good smaller scale project? I start woodworking with harder woods. I am very new to woodworking and have only worked with soft woods up to now. Michael Dillon. I personally don't like making a project for something that I don't need. In other words, I look around my house and I say, what do I need? A coffee table is a great thing to start with in furniture because it has all the joinery. You can make it really simple or you can make it really detailed and intricate. A bench is a great way. And just whatever you do, pick a project that kind of stretches you, and then break it down into its components. Look at each individual joint and say, okay, what do I need to learn to do this joint? And do it. I very, very rarely practice anything. I have never in my life done a practice dovetail. I've never in my life done practice joints. Every joint I make is for a project. And it kind of pushes me. And I don't have a problem with that because I don't worry about perfection. So find something that you need, find something that you use, and jump off in there. Don't worry about what project should you start with. It's kind of a moot point in my mind. Anyone can build any project. You just have to break it down into its individual steps and say, okay, what do I need to make this joint? And once you do that, you can make an entire carved highboy as your first project. Will it look perfect? No. But to tell people that the first project that you ever made was a highboy would be like, but yeah, anyone can do that. Anyone can do it. It's just about breaking it down into the individual steps. So, what's the smallest project you've ever made? I made a stand for a small glass globe, and the stand was 1 inch by 1 inch by 1/2 inch. And it was carved out of curly white oak, if I remember correctly. No, that was oak burl. Yeah, I think that's probably the smallest thing I've ever made. What's the name of the leather stitching fork punch you used in the tool roll video? There should be a link in that video to the stitching prick, which is what most people call them, a stitching prick. But if you go on Amazon and type in stitching punch, you'll come up with those. There's two basic styles. There's the pricks that are basically like a chisel that you drive through, and they just spread the hole. And then there's punches that punch out little holes. Traditional leather workers much prefer pricks. They tend to be a little bit better for the leather itself, but they're harder to stitch with. So you kind of got to go back and forth as to whether or not you want a punch or a prick. I got mine from Tandy Leather, but Amazon is probably a little cheaper and easier. Have you got a piece of furniture you really want to make? Oh, I have a huge list. I want to make an entire bedroom set. I want to make a highboy at some point in the future. I'm going to be making a dining room table and chairs and bench here soon. I want to make a game table. Where does the list stop? I want to make it a work desk. I want to actually have a slab top desk, but have a glass river through it. But in the glass river, you look down into it, you can see the components for the computer inside the desk itself. And I thought that would be a fantastic way to mash together the traditional slab top with the electronics of the computer and the LED lights inside. I thought that would be absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, a lot of things I want to build. That was from Scott. Rob's Woodshop. Have you thought about making the furniture, the future new shop build, a group project? Yes, actually, I have thought about that. What I would love to do is get all of the timber hewn up and shaped and start some of the joinery and get it ready to do, and then actually invite a bunch of people and come out and do a shop raising, and just like an old-fashioned barn raising, and have a day where we put it all up and put the decking on it, and basically in one day take it from foundation to built edifice. And I thought that'd be a lot of fun. Thanks, Rob. You'd have to come over from Europe. I'd love to have you here. Katz Moses says, my wife says I'm wrong. How do I prove that I am right? Well, you can do it with a name change. Unfortunately, my wife's middle name is A, and she tells me that the A stands for always. So it works both ways if you change your name. Hey, Donnie, good to have you here. Is there a way to make wooden screws without taps and dies? From Sleepy Jason. Yes, you can actually cut them. If you draw out the spiral pattern, basically what you can do is take a strip of paper and wrap it around and around and around, and then use a pencil to mark that spiral so it is exactly the same width all the way across. Then use a hacksaw to cut in the depth of the screw all the way around, and then you can use a chisel to pare down to that depth. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. And one of these days I want to do that. It's on my list. I'm thinking about replacing the other leg with a screw that I've made myself, but we'll see. Hey, what's the kids' channel? Because my two girls want to get stuff. Let me look that up. I'm trying to remember her name. I think it's Melody's Woodshop. Why? WOD Woodshop? No. Melody's Workshop. Shows how much I go to it. She only has 2 videos up right now. Oh, my computer jammed. There we go. WORK Shop. Right? Nope. Is it 2 words? Nope. I have to remember what that was. I'll have to look it up later. But I think it's Melody's Woodshop. No, it's Melody's Workshop. I'll once she gets a few more videos up on there, I'll probably tell more people about it. But yeah. That was from Pascal. I love the name, guy. That's awesome. Scott Curtis. Thanks, Willem. Will the hand tool build-off contest return this year? That's from Willem. I'm not sure. I would love to do it, but I have a lot of other things going on, and it takes a lot of work to put that together. There was Mitch's workshop. Mitch, he's in London. He has a tool build-off as well around the same time, and so we might this year actually do something that works well together, or I might move mine to a different time. I don't know. We'll see. I'm thinking about it. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, let me know. I would love to do the tool build-off. That was a lot of fun, just a lot of work. I'm interested in starting to post videos and things I make. Do you have any tips on getting started? My son also is very interested in starting his own channel. Honestly, the best thing you can do is just start it. Put the videos up. And if you think I'm joking, go back and look at my first few videos. The first 3 or 4 months of my videos were literally me having a camera and going, this is what it's during the day. And I looked absolutely dumb now comparing to them. But they got me off the table. And the more you do it, the more you'll get better at it. But you will not get better at it until you start posting videos. So just create a channel and start throwing videos up. Don't worry about them being perfect. Just have fun with it. And it's so much easier than you think it is. And don't worry about them being dumb. Don't worry about them being bad, because the amount of people who are going to see them early is so little. And I've had a lot of people tell me, why don't you take down all your old videos? And I like having them there because it shows other people that you don't need perfection to put up videos. And there are a lot of things I'd like to change about the videos I'm doing now to make them better. And so it's a constant growing process to make them better and better. So, yeah. Any big builds this year? I'm going to be making the lathe and flywheel as soon as I finish the dresser. I have a few other projects with that. But I'm kind of holding off on making anything else big until we find out about moving. I would like to build the large kitchen table. I have several large slabs that I want to make it out of, but we will see when that comes around. Hey man, Crafted, how's it going? Good to have you in here. If you want to see... Thanks, TJ. I like, you were very kind. Sorry, I'm reading through some of these. My son will go up to 1,000 grit. Kids just love sanding. Yeah, some kids love sanding. I hated it as a kid, but my kids don't get the chance to sand because most things I finish with a file or with a plane. How exactly do you develop that sexy voice at the beginning of the podcast? Well, I really don't know about that, but you might have to listen to the podcast to find out. I start out all the podcasts with, well, thank you for asking, Johnny. I'm glad to be here. And it always gets good comments. Do you ever miss quickly ripping a long board on a table saw? When I have 40 or 50 boards to rip, yes, sometimes I would like to have a table saw just to rip them down. But most of the time, no. Like I had a project the other day where I needed to rip one board that was 18 inches long. It was inch and a quarter box elder. And it was just quicker to pull out a handsaw and rip it down than it would be to set up a fence and test it and trim it and then join it and then put it back on there. A handsaw was just faster and easier for something like that. I'm making a table out of bancani, I don't know that wood, which is very hard. While planing, there is a lot of tear out with against the grain. Plane sharpened using sandpaper up to 1200. What am I doing wrong? I have a video on setting up a hand plane for smoothing. If you look up wood by Wright smoothing hand plane, you'll see the video there. And it's really about several things. Number one, you want the mouth to be very, very tight. Number two, you want the chip breaker to be very, very close to the tip. If you make those two things set up right, you can plane into the grain very well, easily. 1200 is a bit dull, is a bit ragged of an edge. If you go to 1200 and then put it on a strop and really make it mirrored on the strop, then you're probably pretty good. But yes, it's mostly about the size of the mouth and how close the chip breaker is to alleviate tear out. But if at all possible, go with the grain as opposed to against it. But you can't always do that. I need to make a 1/4-inch dowel out of walnut. How would I make them? The easiest way is to make a dowel plate. Take some steel and drill a hole through it, and then shape the wood down to about a 1/4-inch by 1/4-inch square, and then turn it into an octagon that's 1/4-inch, and then you can drive that through the hole in the plate, and it will come out as a dowel. You do want to make sure that the grain is very, very straight, riven if possible. Otherwise, you'll get tear out along the dowel. But yeah, just driving it through a hole in a steel plate will do that. Old files are fantastic for making dowel plates. Why, thank you, Blake. Hey, Matt, how's it going? Good to see you on here. Matt Cremona, one of my absolute favorite channels. Love that saw. How did you attract your first customers? I don't sell anything that I make. With hand tools, it just is not profitable. I mean, I would be charging $20,000 for a table, for a coffee table, and no one out there is really going to pay for it. At least no one that I know. So I don't actually sell anything that I make. But for most places, the best way to get started is on Facebook groups or on Craigslist, and post out what you have. Make some things that will appeal to the general public and get your name out there that way. But yeah, I don't have a lot of experience in that, so sorry. Any advice for getting the kids interested in woodworking? Just get them in the shop. Give them a saw and allow them to make a cut, chop out some chisel, chop out some wood, and they will get hooked. And if they don't get hooked by doing that, then they will never get hooked. They're just one of those people who don't like woodworking. But yeah, just put a piece of wood in a vise and give them a saw and say, here, cut this in half. And they generally enjoy that. What's your favorite high school shop project? I never really had a high school shop. I mean, I was in the wood shop through everything. So I was in high school, I made a dresser, a table, chairs. I don't know if those are really good general shop projects. The big limiting thing with high school shop time is the amount of time that people have. And so you have to find a project that can be completed in that time. And that is the big limiting factor. As with anything, any project can be a good starting project. Any project can be a good starting project. It's all about breaking it up into its components and learning each individual step as opposed to learning the project. So pick something you want to make, pick something you can use, and start with that. Anything. TJ, you are my best advertiser. Thanks, man. Are you planning on being in the same area with your timber framed shop? Yeah, I'm looking in the area, Wisconsin, Illinois, along the interstate, on the state line there. I'm trying to find a piece of property with some woods. I would love to have a stock that I can pull lumber out of. I think that would be fantastic. Have a building for drying lumber. I'd love to do it. Melody's Workbench. I think that is. Let me look on here. Oh, it's not going to let me look it up. Melody's Workbench. Oh, you are good. Here, I'll add it to the link. This is my daughter's channel. If you want to make her happy. Hey, John Burkett. Glad to have you here. Spotty internet here. Worth the effort. Great to have you in here, man. I love your channel. I love some of the things you're doing now. And if you haven't seen his channel, Worth the Effort, you got to go take a look at it. He does a lot of long format videos that are fantastic. Great entertainment, great education. Really, really good channel. Favorite medium other than tool steel paint to work into your craft? Favorite medium to work into the craft? Man, I don't know. I like just about anything. I love working with electronics. I like plastics. HDPE, high density polyethylene. Fantastic for carving in. I like that stuff. It just has a lot of different uses. I love brass. Brass is just fun all around. I don't know if I found a medium that I don't like. Hi James. Any hints on what you're doing for the carving challenge, Bob? No, I won't give that away. But actually, tomorrow's video, I have a small chip carving sculpture for. It was actually. Do I have it? No, I don't have it around here. But it was the gift for my wife's Valentine's Day. I have several projects I want to do for carving, but I haven't figured out which one I'm going to do for that challenge yet. But it will be fun no matter what it is. Hey Donnie, how's it going? Are you coming to Handworks 2017? Yes, I am coming to Handworks, and I am really looking forward to that. I didn't get to go to it 2 years ago. I was in Pennsylvania at the time. But yes, if any of you are going to be in Handworks, it's in Iowa in June. I don't remember when. It is awesome, and I am seriously looking forward to it. But yes, I will be there. Do you have any power tools, and do you occasionally use them? For shops I make for videos, I do not use power tools at all. Right now, anything that's in a video has been completely handmade with tools. I have a couple drills, I have a jigsaw, and I have a jointer that I just picked up, but none of those do I ever use for regular projects. I might use them for projects around the house. I sold all my power tools several years ago. I used to have table, joiner, planer, bandsaw, the whole yards, but got rid of them. Yeah, kind of a sad point in my life though. I do have the joiner I have because I want to actually make it foot powered, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. That was from David Wise. If I've skipped anyone's question, go ahead and leave it below. I'm just I'm kind of trying to read down through these comments, making sure I don't miss anyone. How did you get into woodworking? Like, how did you begin? My father was a pastor, and a member of our church said, "Hey, if you ever want to get into woodworking, come over and use our shop." And so my dad went over to his shop and learned woodworking with him. And we made a dining room table and chairs, and I was 5 years old at the time, and so I just came around to the shop and hung around. But anytime he needed me on the other side of a table saw to catch a board that was coming out or out of the planer, I was in the shop with him, and so I would always be hanging around, and we made Boy Scout cars together, bird houses and things like that. And from that point on, I was in the shop all my life. My first piece of furniture I made when I was like 8. Yeah, so it's kind of a history for me. The shop I was in, he had 2 table saws. He had a 36-inch planer. He had I think it was a 20-inch joiner. He had dedicated routers. So every router bit he had a router for it. It was kind of one of those shops. It was a great place to learn woodworking, but no hand planes. That was from Burley Woodworks. Love the name. Thank you for sharing regarding the 1/4-inch dowel. I'll give it a try. Cool. Love to see it. Veritas actually makes a dowel plate if it's something you want to buy, but they're fairly easy to make. You just have to drill a hole in steel. You're on on your way to 20K. Do you have anything special planned for it? I am hoping to do another giveaway when I hit 20K. I have a few companies who have contacted me about giving away items for it. Although I don't know completely. It should be hitting 20K, mid-March? So we'll see. Should be fun. My goal this year is 50,000 by the end of the year. And I should be able to do that, but we'll see. I don't know. Might not. I'm not hugely focused on subscriber numbers. I'm more interested in the response and the comments and the things that come from that. That's the real reason why I'm doing this. I love reading the comments and some of the great ideas and encouragement that come from it. And that's the true payment of having a YouTube channel. Yes, John Burkett, his one of my greatest early supporters. This channel would not be running today without John Burkett. He has encouraged me in ways that I cannot say. He's just a phenomenal guy. So thank you, John. Really, you have been amazingly awesome to me. Thank you. Sorry, reading down through a few things. Nice channel, dude. I left a like. Well, thank you. Long name that I'm not going to pronounce. Have you ever milled your own lumber or started with rough sawn? Do you have any thoughts? Almost everything I have is rough sawn. I don't... very, very rarely do I buy anything that's pre-planed, only if it's for a specific project. I've chainsaw milled my own wood. I have several slabs in the basement that I milled up last February with a friend of mine, Miller's Woods, another YouTube channel. And so almost everything I do is rough sawn lumber. I have about 300 board feet of white oak that's rough sawn in my basement right now. First live feed you've joined. This is Heath Knuckles. I'm guessing it's Knuckles. I'm pretty sure it's Knuckles. Cool channel, though. And good to be here. I actually do one of these. I'll do one. The next one will probably be on a weekend, and the one after that will be on a weekday night, and this one is a weekday at noon. So I try and do them at different times so different people around the world can join. So hopefully this will be a lot more people here from Europe. Yeah, I love Matt's new saw. He just had a video come out yesterday or today about milling some of the larger small logs. I'm seriously looking forward to those big logs, although I don't think I'm looking forward to him milling those as much as he is. Yeah, if any of you have not seen Matt Cremona's channel, you've got to go take a look at it. He does a lot of sweet things. Do you buy lumber specifically for a project, or do you pick up lumber with the hope of making it for the future? It depends. If I find a good price on lumber and I have the money at the time, I will pick it up. Like a year ago, I was on Craigslist and a guy had listed air-dried white oak. It had been drying for 15 years in a barn, and he was selling it for $50 cents a board foot. $0.50 a board foot, which is just crazy. Around here, it's like at least $4 a board foot. And so I got as much of it as I possibly could, and I've been living off of that white oak stock for a while, and I love white oak. Some things I will buy a specific piece for it, but most of the time I just use lumber that I have on hand. And I pick it up a lot of different places. The longer you work with wood, the more you will have a stock of pieces that you've collected over the years, and you're just holding on to them for that perfect project, which rarely comes. But yeah, most everything I buy, I buy because it's a good deal, but occasionally I'll buy something because I need that particular wood. That was from Benjamin Favre, sorry. Benjamin. Thanks, Benjamin. Do you work with wood for a living, or is this more of a hobby? The woodworking to me is a hobby. YouTube itself and content creation is now officially a business. I just applied for an LLC, so it is a business. But I used to work with wood for part-time living, but with hand tools, it's just not a viable option. So I tell people I'm a content producer. I'm not a woodworker. So the actual woodworking is not my job. The job is creating the content and putting up videos. The subject of those videos is woodworking. So I hope that answers questions. Any plans to visit Matt Cremona again? I would love to. Just haven't had a reason to. He's only about 4 hours away, so a day's trip. But yeah, one of these days we'll get back together. He has a lot of fun up there. I'd love to help him with one of those logs. He's moving in with Matt. Yeah, I would love to. The day Matt's wife kicks him out due to the bandsaw, I'll come and pick him up. Mike Fulton, hey, good to have you here. Love your channel. If you haven't seen Mike's shop, Mike's channel, definitely go take a look at it. Hey, I'm a pastor's son too, Blake Hendricks. Yeah, I am. Originally my undergrad was in biblical studies and was going to follow my father, but didn't. So he is now a missionary. He only lives about 10 miles away from me now, 10 minutes away from me. Do you have any suggestions for hand tool only alternative to a drill press? Yes, you can get a beam drill, excuse me, or a post drill. It mounts onto a beam or a post in your shop, and it's a hand crank drill press, and it does exactly the same thing a drill press does, only you're cranking a handle. Other than that, a brace drill allows you to get on top of the work and crank with that. It's not as set up to give you a perfect 90-degree angle as a drill press will, but yeah, a post drill will do that. They're usually $80 to $150, and then you have to restore them. So they're a decent investment, but a lot of fun. I don't have one because I don't have a good place to put it, and I haven't really come across a good deal on one in a while. But one of these days I will. Maybe in my new shop. Oh, and the Lee Valley spoke shave kit. You know, the reason they say a drill press is because they're perfectionists. But when I make my spoke shaves, I just use a hand drill and make sure it is 90 degrees. Use a square and check it, and you can do the exact same thing. You don't need a drill press to make a 90-degree hole. It helps, but you don't need it. That was from Stephen Krislum. I hope I said that right. Hi from Russia. Have you ever worked with birch, and what do you think about that wood? Yes, I like birch. Birch is actually a nice hand tool wood. It's smooth, at least in comparison to like white oak. Works fairly well. It's a good general middle of the wood, lighter colored wood. I like it. I've got a birch tree in my front yard that I keep looking at and thinking, maybe I should turn that into lumber. David Weiss, I'm fairly new to woodworking. Could you recommend a hand plane to start with? Most people, number 4 and number 5 is a great one to start with. I like to recommend starting with restoring your own hand plane. But until you know what a good hand plane feels like, what does a sharp hand plane feel like, that can be a bit of a pain. For most people, it will take a month or two of regular use and practice until they get a hand plane really set up well. That being said, the best bang for the buck in my mind is a Wood River hand plane for new. The new Stanley planes are actually pretty darn decent for their price. The best starting hand plane for any money in my mind is a customizable Veritas. You may not know exactly what you want to customize, but you're really not going to go wrong with them. There's nothing that's going to really mess it up for you. They're easy to learn, easy to set up, very, very simple plane, but can do amazing things. So I guess it's depending upon what do you want to spend. Hope that answers your question, David. Tell us about those wooden shoes. Yes, Rob, he's in the list here, sent those to me from the Netherlands. And I'm going to be doing a video here soon where I'm going to carve the outside of them and decorate them. They're actually very, very comfortable, and they're fantastic shop shoes. In our house, we have a rule where we're not allowed to wear shoes in the house, so it's socks in the house only. But then I go down to the basement and into my shop. Well, I used to have slippers, sandals that I could slide on and off and go and work in the shop. But the problem is that if I ever dropped a chisel, there'd be nothing really protecting my feet. And I had a lot of snipey comments about me wearing sandals in the shop. And so I've been wanting to carve clogs for a while. Well, then Rob sent those to me, which are fantastic. And so now those are my go-to shoes because I can slide them on and off. I usually go into the shop 15 to 20 times a day. And so it's nice to be able to just slide them on and off. And they're really comfortable. I love them. Thanks, TJ. Hopefully 50,000 this year. We will see. Thanks, Barry, from the UK. Yeah. One of these days I want to get out to the UK. Haven't had a chance yet. Who knows? Maybe I'll get out there sometime and do a couple videos out that way. How did you start woodworking? Like, how do you start woodworking or find an interest in it? Well, I started that a little bit earlier with my father's shop. I think a lot of people are looking at woodworking, though, as how do you get someone to really like woodworking? And the problem is that some people are going to like woodworking and some people aren't, and that's completely fine. My wife is not a maker at all. She could care less about making anything. If it requires building, whether it's electronics or sewing or computers or anything, she has no interest in it at all. And nothing I can do would make her have interest in woodworking. So it really depends on the person. And if you are bent to woodworking, the first time you try something, you will get hooked. And that's just the way it is. Life 52 pickup said 835 a board foot here. Yeah, it's white oak is expensive, but a lot of fun. White oak is a painful wood to work with. It is a very, very hard hand tool wood. Not as in it's hard, but as in it's difficult to work because it's ring porous. It is very brittle. At least it tends to splinter off easily. White oak is not a great hand tool wood, but the finished product on it is just fantastic, and I love white oak for that. Yeah, LLC making the big bucks now. I don't know if I'm making the big bucks. My goal is by July to be basically breaking even with Wood by Wright. Right now I'm not quite breaking even, but getting close. We'll see. So it's really not an income for me. Not yet, at least. Should I buy a block plane or a jack? I don't need anything amazing, but for some small stuff like chamfers. If you're just going to be doing chamfers or small ingrain pieces or dowels or trimming things off, a block plane is fantastic. A jack plane is really the good overall when you want to like flatten your own stock, or you want to joint a board, or even use it as a smoothing plane. Whereas a block plane is not good for most any surface of a board. A block plane you might be able to do some edge work, but a block plane is great for doing chamfers and small things, in which case then that might be your go-to. If I lived 4 hours from Matt, he'd have to call the cops on me, from Donnie Carter. Yeah, pretty much. Thanks, Mike Fulton. That's high praise right there. Where is he answering questions from? In the chats. I'm up a little ways. Not down at the bottom anymore. I'm trying to work down through and making sure I don't miss anyone. Thanks for watching, Heath. Glad you could be here, although you're probably gone by now. How are getting this much time to live stream? You build a box for the kids? During the day, two of my kids, one of them's in kindergarten, one's in first grade, and so the other one is watching his phone, and he is overjoyed with the idea that I'm giving him an entire hour to watch his phone. So yeah. During the day I can get a lot of projects done because the kids are usually at school unless one of them are sick. But in the evening, we eat dinner, and then we all go down to the shop, and we'll work on things, and they'll be banging on their own things. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, post drill will do metal as well. Actually, most post drills are designed for metal with the advancing screw. I'm about 14-year-old woodworker who has low skills, but you have taught me how to use my hand tools. Well, thank you. Yusuf, I think I'm saying that right. That means a lot. That is high praise right there. Thank you. There's no better praise for me than I have encouraged someone to work with hand tools. The tagline for Wood by Wright is Wood by Wright, sharing the joy of hand tools, and I just love seeing that light go off with other people. So thank you. That means a lot to me. See you later, TJ. I'm glad you could be here. I really love what you're doing, TJ. Thank you. Do you have any plans to build a treadle-powered lathe? Yes, hopefully this summer. That's going to be the next big thing after the dresser is making the flywheel for it. Although it'll probably end up being a spring pull lathe first just because I can throw a spring onto my ceiling and go to town. Right on, John. John Burke said, skill levels will increase with time in the shop. It's great to hear you doing woodworking. Keep it up. Yeah, there are a few things as fun to me as hearing someone young getting into the art and learning about it. So, I love the old Stanley hand planes. They need sharpening though. From Jim Darkle. Sorry, I don't think there's a single last name on here I've gotten right. Yeah, old planes are fantastic because if you can restore them, then you know how they work, you know how to set them up. It's just learning all those little intricacies about what does an actual sharp blade feel like. Because a lot of people tell me, is it sharp? And, what one person considers sharp is not something I would consider sharp. So it's kind of something you have to learn with time. I saw your slippers once, and I think I saw you wear wooden slippers. Yeah, I have wooden clogs that I use in the shop now. Yeah, white oak is a lot like ash. It's a little bit harder. I think it dulls the blades a little bit faster than ash, at least from my experience. They both have about the same splintering tendency. I think white oak, it fractures a little bit more than ash, but fairly similar. Yeah, if you plane them the wrong way, tear out happens like that. Unless your plane is set up perfectly, they can be very, very difficult, both of them. Do you close your mouth on your smoothers? Yes. I have a video on setting up smoothers, and it's very important to have a tight mouth and have the chip breaker very, very close to the tip. I think I'm getting down close to the end of the questions, and it's almost time for the hour. So if you have any questions, throw them on the bottom. Otherwise, I'm probably wrapping this up in a minute. Thanks for watching, Mancrafted. Love your channel, too. Some of the powder coating things you do are really cool. Thank you. We should do a 3- or 5-way round-robin mystery tool swap. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, John. Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. A mystery tool swap, where we all make something or give away a tool to someone else. That sounds like a really cool idea. Thank you. Might think about introducing that. That's a great idea. What do you think of replacing an old plain iron with a modern iron? Even the old one is serviceable. Are there new alloys worth it? It's not as much about the new alloys. Most of the new ones, like hawk blades, are a little thicker, so they don't vibrate as much in the wood. But honestly, until you've used a hand plane for a while, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between an old Stanley blade and a hawk iron. Until you have felt the plane and you know what it's doing, you can't tell the difference between them. I still use the traditional Stanley irons in all of mine, except for my new ones. They have thicker irons. Yeah, so newer alloys, I do like them, but again, you're not going to know the difference unless you know what sharpening one feels like to the other, until you know what getting dull feels like. Just joined in. Have you discussed what is a good starter kit? Yeah, my starter kit, when I got into hand tools, I bought a hand plane. I got a panel saw from the box store, which I got for free with a rebate. And I got a set of chisels from Harbor Freight. With those three things, I built my workbench. So really all you need is a saw, a set of chisels, and a plane, and you can build most anything with those 3 items. A way to sharpen them. And everything else is just a way to make those tools easier. So yeah, starting tools can be very, very basic. I like to work with beech and mahogany. What are your ideas on these? Beech is a fantastic wood, really smooth, really clean, very durable. I love beech. Mahogany, much the same way, especially if it's like real Honduran mahogany. That stuff feels fantastic. It's a great wood to work with. Sapele is very good, unless, but the switching grain on sapele can sometimes be a pain. But both of them very, very fun to use. I am planning on a bench. I am planning on building a workbench soon. Do you have any portable feature? Do you think a portable feature is a good idea? I saw a bench from Wooden Shop called the Moravian bench. Yes. I have never seen a need for moving my bench. If you go and take classes from places like Wooden Shop, then having a movable bench might be fun. I am going to be soon making a small benchtop bench that I can take and like mount to the top of someone's table saw and use that. But no, I don't see a huge reason for making a movable bench. As a matter of fact, the heavier it is, the better in my book, so I don't like them being very movable. But each to their different. There are reasons to make a movable bench, and there are reasons not to. Do you notice any difference between A-Tool and PMV11? I do. I like both of them. PMV11 seems to sharpen a little bit easier. In my opinion, they both hold the edge just about the same amount. But I think if I have a choice between PMV11 and A2, I'm probably going to pick PMV11. But I really don't have a huge difference between the two. So until you work with them for a long time, you're really not going to be able to tell much of any difference. Yeah. Hope that answers your question. Have you seen the English Woodworker's videos? Yes, I love his stuff. I love his accent too. A lot of fun things over there. Great, great channel. Hey, Doc. Good to have you on here. Actually, I'm about to be wrapping it up. Sorry. Note that most new irons are completely made of harder steel. The older ones are often laminated. Yes. Yeah. A lot of the older ones actually have a hardened steel in the back and a softer steel in the front, which they're great. Hope to meet you in Atlanta. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. There'll be a lot of people there. Any plans to visit Europe? There are no current plans, but it is on my list. I'm hoping to get out there. My parents are going to be back in Hungary next year, I think it is. My parents are itinerant missionaries, so they're all over the place. So they're going to be in South Korea, and they just came back from Canada. They were in South Africa and Cameroon and Hungary and Ireland. So we like to visit them occasionally if we can. But I want to do a European trip sometime. But the problem is having 3 kids. That gets expensive very fast. And they're not quite to the age where I want to leave them here for a few weeks. Yes, I'm answering questions from this chat. Do you have any use? Do you have or do you use any power tools? Yeah, I actually just mentioned this. I do have a few power tools. I don't use them in woodworking shop videos, but I do have a few. I sold most all of my woodworking power tools. At some point in the future, I may end up buying a table saw planer joiner, just so that I can build larger projects faster. In other words, like I would love to be able to do videos like the dresser, where I can show how to do it with hand tools and do it on a couple of the joints with hand tools, put up the video, and then run all the rest through a power tool so I can actually build the dresser faster and be able to put out more content for the channel. But as of right now, I'm not doing that. Is there any timber you wouldn't use with hand tools? A joiner from the UK, and some timbers are very abrasive. No, if it's wood, you can use hand tools with it. Some of them will dull the blade faster, but oh well, that's what they make sharpening stones for. No, I don't think there's any wood that I wouldn't attack with hand tools. Wood is wood. Some of them will be harder to use, and some of them will be easier. But no, go for it. You can always sharpen them. What kind of microphone is that? This is a blue, not icicle, Yeti. There's the word. Blue Yeti. It's really easy because it's just USB, so I can just plug it in and go. So that's about it for today. I am hoping I have answered your questions. Feel free to send me an email anytime with your questions. I'd love to answer those on there. And I really like just hanging out with you guys. This has been a lot of fun. And I do this now once a month, and I'm looking forward to it. Also, I am going to be setting up the Patreon hangout. I'm going to be doing a mass hangout with everyone on Patreon here soon. And it should be a lot of fun because we can do a lot of face-to-face communication and get some things through that way. So, yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and thanks everyone for being on here. And that's about it. So, till next time, have a wonderful day. Now I got to figure out how to stop this thing. Okay, where's the button? This is always the fun thing about live that you never get to see with other things is how do you actually go about stopping things or these other background items that, yeah. Events. Live now. Control room. Oh, there we are. There's a stop button. So, until next time, have a wonderful day.